Yes, my viewers and subscribers, I'm bringing you this one now from Venesha Phillips, sitting councillor, PNP councillor, who crossed the floor with two other PNP councillors. And I want to throw that in there because some people make it seem like she alone crossed the floor. No, three PNP councillors crossed the floor to the Jamaica Labour Party. This is her first public speech after she crossed the floor, and she talked a bag of things. And it's really interesting. I like that she's speaking up, and I was very happy to hear this interview, to hear her position, which is very well justified in my view as to why she decided to cross the floor. I don't know if she will go back to the PNP later on, if the PNP can manage to salvage the party. But I think for now, she did the right thing in the interest of those she serves, because the party that she belonged to of no more relevance at this time. So she has to go to where relevance is so she can carry out our work effectively for the people. Because party that she was with, it's too unstable, infighting. I don't see what a party like that can do for anybody at this time. So she talked and she did not mince words, and I agree with 100% of what she said, really, But I like that she's standing in her power, and she's very brave. She's very brave and very courageous, because the few people in a parliament who are trying to normalize Mark Golding, I don't know how they're ever going to get back in the good graces of the Jamaican people, because the Jamaican people see that the PNP with Mark Golding leading it is not relevant, and they can't force him to be relevant because he does not have it in him to be passionate for the cause and for stand up for the people in a way that they demand him to do so. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys hear Venesha, and the interview was pretty long. It was like 43 minutes. I only have about maybe 13 or so minutes of it here. But if you wish to hear more, you can go over to Ceen TV, CEEN TV, here on YouTube to hear the full interview. Enjoy. And don't forget, guys, keep subscribing and sharing the YouTube channel so that we can build up the community over here. Like I said, we deal with truth, we deal with transparency, fair assessment over here where Jamaica politics is concerned. Take care of yourselves.
I believe that where we are now, we are ripe for the picking in terms of saving this generation and to be able to give generations to come a better pivot from which they can launch to, prosperous ideals.
All right, I'll hold you right there. You're watching The Conversation. I'm Kwame Thomas. We'll be right back. Break. Well, a little before the break, you were talking and you spoke about holding on to your integrity and staying in your purpose, and that does not necessarily mean staying into or staying inside of a party. Tell us about that. I've looked in the paper and I see where a publication came out nearly 2 years after you left a particular party. And I'm not sure what to make of that, why so late. So the first question would have been, what's your relationship like with said political party?
That would be the PNP. I have no difficulty saying the name. I used to be a member of the PNP, and right, as you correctly said, I would have resigned from the PNP, withdrew my membership properly some 2.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. That journey started well before that. I had been basically wrestling with myself and looking at everything to see whether or not there was any possibility that I could remain and be of service that made sense, because you don't just be a body in a suit present in a particular place. So I don't just want to be an orange-clad person that says yay, yay, yay. I wanted to know that I would have been able to serve a useful purpose. And I agonized over that for weeks, probably over 1.5 years. And I came to the conclusion that it was not possible so to do. And so I properly made my exit.
So could we then, is it a case whereby you don't feel as though you were being used or utilized enough? Your talents weren't being honed enough, or so pretty much you were underutilized in that party?
There's a danger when we start to put I and yous in terms of our role in leadership, and that's what I tried not to do. And then I'm going to say that as a voice, as one of the leaders within the movement at the level I was at, you know, I would have tried my best at the time, at every meeting I could, in every forum I could have, to put, you know, test the issues to the leadership central, just to say, bring the issues from the streets into the room so that policies could be formulated around the realities of the street and not what we were dreaming them to be or what we wanted to dictate them to be. I wanted to see an organization that was conversant with the issues of the people in a real way and not in a bubble, not operating in a bubble. And I did not believe at the time that what was coming, because remember my introduction to the PNP as a political movement was through an ideological grounding that was people-centric. It was about building people. It was about wrapping services around people and not wrapping people around services. Right. Services must be there to build and grow people. Right? Not people here to grow businesses. We grow them through our service that we give, but that service shouldn't turn around and serve us by bettering our quality of life. And the discussion was not tending in the direction that showed me that that's where the move that we were going to go. And so it moved in my mind from a movement to an organization. And there's a stark difference there.
So would it be that that organization was now comprised of persons who were there to, what's the term, drink milk as opposed to count cows?
I don't know if that's the way to capture it. I felt like it was most, I think the persons who were now in the ascendancy were about, or are about, power rather than progressive politics. Jamaica needs progressive politics that will develop people, not power-hungry people who want to be categorized as tapenaris and to probably drink milk and not be concerned about the starving cows. So for me, I wanted to see politics in Jamaica grow to the levels that young people would aspire to be politicians, to lead. We would attract the best of the best and the brightest of the brightest. We would attract the most radical who will keep the conversation alive and reality always fresh in our minds so we can be competitive on the world stage, not just through Usain Bolt and Shelley and all the others who do us well in sports, but through our mental capacity and, you know, through all of that qualitative stuff that would show the world that Jamaica was not just physically, you know, agile and all of that, that is great, but that we were also great thinkers. And you are seeing some elements of it now. But you're seeing it coming from the government. You see it coming from Nigel Clark. Look at what has happened with the economy. Come on.
All right. So let's take a few steps back. So you would have disclosed that you were near and dear to Dr. Peter Phillips.
Yes.
And my question is, when he exited, or he began to plan or chart his exit, was that the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of making you decide that, listen, this is no longer for me, this party is no longer for me, let me leave? No.
No, because that would then mean that I would have been a sycophant of Dr. Phillips, and I think that would have disappointed him. Well, it would have meant that I was into the politics of personality, and that too would have disappointed him. But no, I had to exit when, I can be straight with you, before the race between Mark Golding and Lisa Hanna, I would have sat with Philip Paulwell first, then later on to have discussions with Dr. Phillips about the dangers of that based on things that I probably won't say from your chair because those were relative to discussions that took place in a private executive meeting, observations I made that made me think that, hey, bad decision, bad direction. And so I would have gone to them to say, look, if this results, then I'm out, because it would mean that it's not for me. It's not what I want to see of a movement, and I don't believe that that would have been in the interest of the greater good of Jamaica. I would have said that to them in several different ways. And so when, on that evening when Mark Golding was announced, I threw caution to the wind, and I would have gone to the first meeting of the NEC at Jamaica College, I think it was. And when I went to that meeting, and I said, okay, let me just, you know, give it a try and see what happens. I remember looking at a senior member, and I can name him because I did. I remember I went over to John Juna, and I said to him, thank God I'm right, because for a moment I felt like, you know, I wasn't doing justice to this thing. So thank God Mark Golding, by his very first presentation as leader, would have proven all my sentiments that I held to be correct. And so at that particular time, that was the last time I had any interaction with the movement. Well, the movement died and the organization was born. But they still trade as PNP, but I don't believe that they, well, if you ask every single PNP of old, they will tell you that it is not the PNP today. So even though the name is in place, it is not the same organization, and Mark Golding has told you that it's a new party with a new leader. He has said that on the political platform. And so I left on that day, and I've never been back since, because I was certain that I could not be a part of an organization coming from a movement that served people to an organization that I wasn't ever going to be certain as to what it would be about.
So fast forward now, 2.5, 3 years later, is Mark Golding still the man to lead the People's National Party?
I never thought he was. I never thought he should have been leader. I said that. You might recall that there was a very controversial issue out of a bigger meeting at the conference center where it dominated the media in what I consider to be a negative way, because I was making the point to the conference, beseeching them not to go down that path, because it would have meant the death of an 84-year-old movement. And today we're seeing, you know, what is going on with the PNP. It is a shadow of its former self. Mark Golding, 3 years later, has not been able to say to the Jamaican people, and the numbers are there, it's not my words, he cannot even go past 12 to 14%. The numbers are there to show you that he cannot convince the people of Jamaica that I am even to be considered for Jamaica House to do.
What though would you say is so wrong with Mark Golding? Why you made that statement?
I think Mark Golding is not really serious about the work that is involved in political leadership. I think Mark Golding is an accomplished businessman, and so this to him is probably another venture that could challenge him as a businessman. But you see, that venture that he might be looking at is our lives, right? And so what you need is someone who is really keen on building a country with everything that comes with it. You need the passion for it. You don't have to love people to manage them, but you definitely have to love people to lead them. Right? And so it is important for us to understand that politics is a passionate thing, and we should not have a politics that's devoid of passion. Mark Golding has not yet said to any of us, whether you're PNP, JLP, or apathetic, or no P at all, that look here, I am really serious about all the mumbo-jumbo that you hear, Andrew Holness, Nigel Clark, Tufton, even people on the PNP benches talking about Dr. Phillips, for example. Mark Golding has not said to you that, look here, I am a Phillips, I believe in the message. I'm one of those advocates. He has not said so. One of the first things Mark Golding did, you know, when he came as leader, was he removed Norman Manley's name from the creator or founder of the PNP and replaced it with O.T. Fairclough's name. He could have, if you wanted to introduce OT's value to the conversation, it could have been done in a way that would have been a uniting force, not a divisive one. If you look at the approach to his politics, it's one that is screaming fire in the room but not pointing you to the hydrant and not saying how we can prevent fires in the future. And that is instability in the making. Jamaica has come through much instability. We are looking now for sobriety. We're looking for stability. And so Mark Golding is not a part of that process. And I do not believe the PNP should even keep him as opposition leader, because with Andrew Holness, the JLP, and what they are posturing to do, and what they have done so far, what you need in an opposition is a stabilizing force that's going to hold them to account properly. Without, if you talk about crime, Mark Golding talk about Integrity Commission. If you talk about education, you go back to the same, because he has nothing to offer to the conversation.
So let me ask then, could it be that you're nostalgic, you're holding on to a People's National Party that no longer exists?
Well, I'm holding on to the ideals that it gave. And I'll tell you something else. It's a joke I was sharing with my colleagues as we drove here, that one of the things I remember so well is, even I used to repeat it on a political platform, you know, Andrew Holness, I used Michael Manley playbook. Have you heard that before? I'm sure you've heard that, you've read it, you've seen it everywhere. If you look on social media, the comments said, oh, a Manley playbook you may use. And then I sat down and I said, then hold on a second. If Mark take up Michael Manley playbook and throw it in the garbage, and Andrew would say, but look at you, and take it out and dust it off and say, because there is merit to this playbook. And you're seeing it in the health sector. You're seeing it in the social housing assistance programs. I
was born in a 2-bedroom board house. My father is still a farmer, and my mother is a retired civil servant. I never born with no gold spoon in my mouth.
And your oldness born, yeah.